was the Prohibition days like?
They weren't bad. Everybody made a buck.
Can you give us some idea what it was like?
Well,
those days?
not too much, but I can still see my uncle coming home with 2 gallons of wine in a thin can on each side. He said he carried it because he took 2 gallons because he could balance himself walking down the street. In fact, none of the houses were there on 80th Street around Liberty Avenue, all the places were all gone. In fact, the house I live in now, I moved out from Rockaway Boulevard. In fact, I have a 16 millimeter tape. I have to show it to you sometime. And that was a common sight back in the early 20s, because Rockaway Boulevard was widened. In fact, the one piece of property that I own on Rockaway Boulevard used to be another 50 feet out to the middle of the road. That was all taken down. In fact, all down on the right-hand side going towards Crossway Boulevard, there was a whole row of stores. You had everything you wanted along there.
Do you remember when trolley service ended?
I don't remember when it ended, but in what year I really don't know. But it was a good sight. We used to put pennies on the track to flatten them out.
Probably in the 50s.
No, it was before the 50s. It was in the 30s they were gone. In fact, the
I
green...
think that would be the Liberty one, would probably be gone around the 30s.
About the 30s. And then I think in the 40s, the one on Liberty Avenue, that used to come as far as 100th Street, or say about 100th Street used to come, and then there's a switch and go back, and they put buses there. But I remember under the elevator by Hudson Street, there was nothing but sand, no road there. And I remember too, there's a diner on 76th Street where McDonald's is now. There was a diner right on the corner, and the trucks used to come down Liberty Avenue and make a turn into 76th Street. By the diner, they used to all stop there for coffee, then they make another left turn on the First Avenue with Jerome Avenue, and to Liberty Avenue and take them all the way down to Brooklyn. All of it, I could see a lot of farm trucks, all different types of trucks.
Did you and your family ever take excursions to Rockaway Beach on the old Long Island Railroad line?
Yes,
trestle?
yes. I remember going to Rockaway, I think it was Rockaway Park Station. In fact, my father used to take us frost fishing. He used to walk along the shore of the beach there, and the whiting fish, they would go after these little shiners called spearing. Then they get caught in the wave, the whiting, and they throw it up on the beach, and you run down and pick them up. Call it frost fishing.
We were talking a while back about Forest Park, and I was led to believe that at the other end of Forest Park, near Myrtle Avenue, there were a lot of German beer gardens. In fact, right at the intersection of Myrtle and Woodhaven, there were quite a few. Do you remember those?
I remember, where on north of the park, there used to be a lot of beer gardens along there. Because I would go with my grandfather and my parents, and actually I get the soda and they drink the beer. In fact, they had a lot of beer gardens around. I forget the name of them though. And also, do you remember Troma's? On
Bushwick
Avenue? I remember that, Troma's there. In fact, the Old Mill Yacht Club had one of their balls there in the place there. It was good. Beer was good. Had a good time.
John, were there many outside of Forest Park, any areas that were undeveloped with wildlife and forests?
Yeah, you had a place straight out 80th Street, and there used to be a canal. That's where they used to dump a lot of the sewage. Used to go out to Jamaica Bay, and there was a woods there we called Buckguard's Woods. I used to get a lot of different. You would see rabbits running around there, and a lot of other wildlife. I don't think that's there anymore.
Were there any farms?
Yeah, there was plenty of farms. I remember in Tudor Village, that was a tomato farm, plum tomatoes. And those kids used to crawl in amongst the tomatoes, grab the tomatoes, and the old farmer used to take a shotgun and blow it up in the air, and the old peppers used to come around us and see us scoop.
Could you tell us about the first radio in Woodhaven?
Well, I knew something about the radios. I know that other people used to monkey around. I had a neighbor, Searing the name was, and he played with the radio. And I remember he had a horn. He had I think it was the smelling fight. And it was broadcast. Everybody coming in the neighborhood because he had a horn. It was longer than this table. He had it by the cellar window with a little thing there, and everybody heard the thing. And I still can remember when they had, like they have today when they want to nominate a president, they still can hear the old radios, the battery radios.
Growing up, were the streets all paved? in
No, they
Woodhaven?
weren't all paved. They were all dirt, and eventually they were paved. I remember 80th Street, which was Hudson Street at the time, when they put a trunk sewer in there. The sewer so large, you could drive a team of horses through the sewer. That's how big it was, a big round thing. So the forms, they had it split in half, so both together. When the kids used to use them for a rocking horse. And I can remember when, on 80th Street, they pumped water 24 hours a day because there's a load of springs down there. And I remember at the corner of 97th Avenue and 80th Street, they had a chute there, and the men had a big watermelon with the cold water to keep it cool.
You talked a while back about a lake in Old Woodhaven or in the Ozone Park area. Weren't there some lakes in the Cypress Hills Cemetery area?
Yes, there was one up there, and they filled it in.
They filled it in.
And that's, I mean, not too many years ago they filled it in. In fact, up there on, we used to call it Stony Road, it's, I think it's Cypress Hill Street. And up when you got up to the top, to the left there was a big house there, they used to have fun parties there. It was like a beer garden, you know.